Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. This is JB.
And I'm Chandler, and this is the Unbiased Hard Take. On today's Unbiased Hard Take, finally, football games that count to be talked about. Again, that count to be talked about. This week, me and JB are going to be predicting each week one game. We will do that all season long, and we will keep track on who does better. And we'll figure out a prize for that. Maybe bragging rights, we'll figure it out. And today we will also be playing Weddle as well. Those will be our two topics for the day. We will start with week one NFL. With opening night this Thursday, the Detroit Lions take on the Kansas City Chiefs. You see here, I'm keeping track of what we predict. JB, who do you think wins the Detroit at Kansas City game? Opening night.
For opening night, I do believe the Kansas City is going to beat the Detroit Lions. Even though the Detroit Lions are young, they have, everything else that they've been doing this offseason, I've said this on this podcast before, they're doing absolutely right. But I don't think it's time to face the Kansas City Chiefs just yet at what caliber they're at right now. So I'm gonna pick Kansas City on Thursday Night Football.
I agree with you. I think Detroit, unfortunately, I have them winning the division this year. Again, go Pat, go, but common sense tells me Detroit's probably the best team in this division. I get all those players. They have Dan Campbell. However, they're a young team. Kansas City is definitely seasoned. This team's won 2 Super Bowls, been to 3 recently. The defending Super Bowl champions. You have the league MVP. You have Pat Mahomes. You have the best tight end in the league with Travis Kelce. You have the best coach in the league with Andy Reid.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this isn't a knock on Detroit at all. This is not a knock on them because I think they're going to have a really good season. I just think they'll lose the opening night just because the team they're playing, again, they're the Super Bowl champions for a reason. They're coming off of winning the entire thing. Give me Kansas City. One. Moving on, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Who do you got in that one, JB? Cincinnati, Cleveland.
Oh, it's not a rivalry, but a divisional rivalry.
Remember, division teams always play each other tough, no matter how good or bad they are.
Exactly. But I'm gonna go with Cincinnati. Cleveland, I do believe they're not good. They never did anything this. I feel like they didn't do anything this offseason. They didn't sign anyone that's big. But DeMar and Watson, I don't think he's not the quarterback that he was back in Houston. I do believe Deshaun Watson is the worst quarterback in the division. So I would say Cincinnati coming up with the W.
Okay, so am I hearing you that you would rather have Kenny Pickett than Deshaun Watson? Take the contract away. Take the contract away. Now just go off of base talent.
Base talent, yeah. As of right now, of what we've seen, having a perfect rating in the preseason. What did Deshaun Watson have? I mean, yes, even though it is a preseason, yes, you're facing against second string or sometimes the starters. But I mean, when he played against the starters, what did he do? He had a perfect rating. So hopefully that transitions into the regular season, which I know for a fact that it will. But yeah, I think Kenny Pickett is going to have a outstanding second year.
Okay.
But yes, I do. I am picking Pickett for over Deshaun Watson.
This year in the preseason, Deshaun Watson played 2 games, had a QBR of 112.3, 1 touchdown, 0 passing interceptions. Again, didn't play a lot, but did play a little bit. Let's pull up Kenny Pickett's numbers here for the preseason.
I think he was
Kenny
156.
We'll find out preseason stats. Playing on this dude's offense on 5 preseason drives. It went 13 for 15 for 199 yards, 2 TDs, and 0 picks. That's good for 13.3 yards per attempt and a perfect 158.3 QBR
Yep.
rating. Yep. So, yes, you pretty much nailed that one on the head.
And if all those drives that Kenny Pickett played on, it all led to a touchdown.
And you see, I believe preseason matters. I really do. These guys are NFL players. Even when you have the backups in there, these dudes have made the league.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to be on the team. They're going to be on the team, on the practice squad. Some will get, a lot will get cut, a lot will end up in the XFL or USFL. Excuse me, that's just how it works. So I think that preseason matters, especially for young players. Well, that's a pretty hard take, in my opinion, for you.
Yep.
See, personally, me, I would still take Deshaun Watson over Kenny Pickett if you take the contract away. You have to take that horrendous contract away Watson had. And it's because of what Watson's done in the past. I excuse me, I know he's a good quarterback in his prime. He hadn't played in over a year. He set out that entire season, all those lawsuits. You didn't play it the entire time. So you have rust. So I think the time he played last year, because he was suspended on top of it, so he almost didn't play football for 2 straight seasons. That's hard to do. To look good. So I think last year was more of a get the rust off. We know we're probably not going to be good because of his suspension. Because who they have out there, Brissett, who played well, did, but he's far from a Pro Bowl quarterback. So I think this is the season we will see if Deshaun Watson is washed up or not. With that being said, though, I do agree with you. I'm going to take Cincinnati in this game. The Browns are the Browns. Too many question marks. Again, is Deshaun Watson going to look like the Houston version or the version we seen at times last year? The Bengals were just in the Super Bowl against the Rams. They have Joe Burrow, given his ankle's okay. They have Jamar Chase. They have T. Higgins. They have a decent defense. They have a good coach. Cincinnati's a better team. Even if Deshaun Watson plays like Deshaun Watson used to play, I still think Cincinnati's a better team.
Oh, yeah.
From top to bottom. Cleveland has some holes on their roster. That Cincinnati does not. Cincinnati has a better offensive line.
I want to say a better offensive line because I don't think they added anyone good in the past or this offseason. I think
the Bengals?
Yeah. Because remember
the off season before.
Yeah. But remember Joe Burrow was sacked the most that season when Cincinnati went to the Super Bowl. And he had the worst line and it still brought him to the Super Bowl. I still think that's amazing.
Oh, it absolutely is amazing. But you're correct. But that offseason, not this offseason, the offseason before, they went out and spent a lot of money on their offensive line. They really did. And the Browns' offensive line, especially in pass protection, just really isn't that impressive. Their projected starting lineup right now is Orlando Brown Jr., Cordell Volson, Ted Karras, Alex Kappa, and Jonah Williams for the Bengals. This is their projected starting lineup. And that has them ranked at the 17th best offensive line in the league, while Cleveland, let's find them, 20 Miami. The Jets have a horrible line. I'm going to find it. The Rams, Commanders 27, Jacksonville 26, Houston 25, Saints 24, Jets 23, Bills, Bears 21, Dolphins, Raiders, Niners, Bengals, and then right there with them, again, is the Browns. So they're almost the same. Now, I would rather have the offensive line that Cleveland has. That's just an opinion, though. However, moving on to the next game, we have Houston versus Baltimore. JB, who do you got? I think this is a pretty quick one.
Baltimore.
But why?
No question about it. I mean, is Houston going at the right direction of they've been in rebuild for a while. But are they getting the right players at the right time? Yes. But is it going to take a while? Yes. So
Stroud.
yes. If he stays, what's the word I'm looking for?
Consistent.
Yes, that one. If he stays consistent, Houston is going to have a really good offensive team. What they're going to slack on is defense. Even though they probably lost one of their, or they didn't sign one of their best corners, in my opinion. And they signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Desmond King. Thank you.
He says.
Thank you. Another veteran corner. But,
Okay.
I mean, there's no question about it. Baltimore is going to win that game. No ifs, ands, or buts.
But the NFL, anything can happen.
Exactly. But I do believe Lamar and OBJ is going to connect week 1 without a easy.
I absolutely agree with you. I think this is probably the easiest game to predict looking at the stats here, Houston versus Baltimore. I'm not a super big fan of CJ Stroud. Honestly, I don't think he's going to pan out like people think he will. I'm on record on saying that before this. I think Anthony Richardson is going to be the best quarterback from this class.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to, he's already made team captain, by the way. We'll get into that with the Indianapolis Colts segment in a little bit. But I'm just, other than Will Levis, who I absolutely despise as far as a quarterback prospect, I think CJ Stroud is going to be average to below average. But like you said, if he can stay consistent and make some plays, they have some players on the offensive side of the ball, really. They have Robert Woods. They have their running back. Help me out here. I'm drawing a blank on it. I drafted him on my fantasy team this year, actually. Pierce. Damian Pierce.
Damian Pierce.
Hadn't even loaded. Good. Came back to me. Damian Pierce is a good player. Really surprised people last year. So they have some offensive pieces on that side of the ball. However, though, I mean, looking at Baltimore, my God, you got OBJ, you got Lamar Jackson, you have Mark Andrews at tight end. You have a better defense in Baltimore than you do in Houston. Every sign says Baltimore. Pretty down to the line there. Moving on. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Minnesota Vikings.
Here's another easy one for me. Minnesota.
Finally giving Kirk Cousins some love on this podcast a little bit. Finally.
Just a little bit. But no, Tampa Bay, they're in shambles. Even though they brought back their retro jerseys, which I love, their retro jerseys.
Creamsicle ones?
Yes, the creamsicle ones. Those are probably one of the best jerseys in my opinion, but it's not going to save them from embarrassment this whole entire for the regular season. So because they didn't do anything this offseason, they lost basically everything. And now I think I heard rumors is that Mike Evans doesn't want to be in Tampa Bay anymore. So that's what I've heard.
He told his agent that I read this article yesterday. He told him that I think they have by week 1 to get a contract done, or he's going to cut off ties of that contract discussion and see what happens, I suppose. So, yeah. Sort of, yes, he has.
So,
giving them a deadline for a contract extension, that's definitely not a good thing.
Right. But, so yeah, like I said, they did not do anything in the offseason. They didn't sign anyone good.
Signed Baker Mayfield.
Oh yeah, Baker Mayfield. He had to have one good game with the Los Angeles Rams, and look what happened afterwards. So yeah, Minnesota is going to win this one.
I agree with you. I think Minnesota takes this one pretty easily. I mean, you have Justin Jefferson, you do have Kirk Cousins, you do have T.J. Hawkinson, who's a top 5 tight end for sure, 100%. Minnesota has some question marks. However, Tampa Bay has way more question marks on that. Kirk Cousins is definitely a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. Justin Jefferson definitely better than any wide receiver Tampa Bay has, even though I think Mike Evans is primed for another 1,000-yard season because he
Mm-hmm.
had 1,000-yard seasons before Tom Brady showed up. This dude's like been consistent since day one. He just got a
Right.
lot better when Tom Brady showed up, obviously. So I think Tampa Bay is going to make some plays. I think Chris Godwin's good enough. They'll make some plays, maybe make it interesting, I think. But give me Minnesota. They just have a lot less question marks from top to bottom.
Right. Same here.
Moving on, now we might start getting a little more interesting because so far, me and you have predicted the exact same thing.
So far.
So far, we have. However, the Atlanta Falcons against the Carolina Panthers.
Ooh.
Week 1. That's a division game.
Two terrible teams.
I like how you just start it that way. Two terrible teams. Hey, a lot of people think the Falcons will do good.
Yeah, because they have one running back. They got a good running back. What else do they have?
Yeah, 3 good running backs.
I'm talking about their Bijan Robinson. It's probably
Right.
one of the best running backs in this year's class.
Oh, absolutely was.
Carolina has Bryce Young. Not many good receivers. Defense is not that good. Same thing as the Atlanta. Oh, give me Atlanta.
Okay.
I don't think.
Is there a reason or just your gut?
Well, it's just the fact that Bryce Young really doesn't have that many good offensive threats, in my opinion.
No.
I mean, the only one
Miles
that's actually
Sanders.
they have Mingo and Chark Jr. Probably those are two of the only good receivers that he has. They have a big running back. Miles Sanders is probably their only good running back in that area. The only good probably is Hayden Hurst, is their tight end.
We have
But
Adam Thielen. He's okay.
yeah,
Okay, though. He's getting older. He hasn't produced like in the last couple of years like he had in the past.
yeah. But defense, they really don't have anything, in my opinion. The only corners that they have is JC Horn, Troy Hill. He's coming up in age, though. Deontay Jackson, he's kind of had a little bit last year. So same thing as Von Bell, but and I forgot they have Jeremy Chin, but that's probably not going to save them as much. But I'm still going to stick with my answer with the the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay, and I actually agree with you. I think this one will be a close game. I kind of tossed and turned with the Carolina a little bit. My issue with Carolina is you're starting at rookie quarterback. Rookie quarterbacks are kind of up in the air. You're starting a rookie quarterback on top of the fact that your best wide receiver is probably going to be Adam Thielen. And nothing against Adam Thielen. He's more of a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 at this point in his career. He's not a top option right now. Yes, you have Miles Sanders, but you look over at Atlanta, they have a 3-headed monster at running back. To talk about Atlanta a little bit, why they drafted Bijan Robinson makes absolutely no sense to me when you have Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson at running back. Algier, who had over 1,000 yards rushing last season, on top of the fact. So why they drafted Bijan Robinson when they have those 2 running backs makes absolutely no sense to me.
I have no idea either. Probably they're
Truly,
going to start using Cordell Patterson as a slot, maybe.
They already were. They were kind of using him everywhere. Remember, he was kicking, returning punts. He was catching touchdowns, running touchdowns. He was doing everything on top of an 1,000-yard rookie running back you had last year. So that was kind of a head scratcher. But to kind of get back on topic, Atlanta just has far more talent on their team. Drake London is a good receiver. You have Kyle Pitts, who, if he can play like he did his rookie season, and rather than last year, who will be a good player this season. They still have some question marks on defense. Atlanta does, but they have improved it a little bit with the draft and the free agency. Give me Atlanta.
Yep, I agree.
Maybe we'll have a different one here. Probably not. The Cardinals or the Commanders?
Commanders. Easy. Easy in my opinion, because Arizona, with same thing with Tampa Bay, they are in shambles. They basically lost all their good players. They even lost their main linebacker, Isaiah Simmons, to the New York Giants.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. They really did lose everything, didn't they?
Yep. So I'm looking at their roster right now, and they got Zach Ertz, Marquise Brown,
James Conner. Yeah, it's gonna be a rough year for the Cardinals, I think.
Yeah, I think Joshua Dobbs is starting week 1.
Have they even announced that yet?
I think Kyler Murray is still injured, I do believe.
He is. He's still on the physically unable to perform list, so he won't play the first 4 weeks of the season.
So yeah, I think they have. I just seen an article. Cardinals Dobbs prepared, expecting week 1 start. And he is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but he's not that good, in my opinion.
He's a backup.
He's a backup. He is a good backup. Let's just put it that way. But he doesn't have that much weapons. Their defense does not look amazing. I mean, Washington, at least they have a few things going for them.
They absolutely do. They have Sam Howell looked pretty good. A lot of people think Sam Howell's the real deal.
Sam Howell, he looked good. Even though he had some questionable throws last season. Their backup, they have Jacoby Brisket. I always want to say Brisket. I guess I'm just might as well be hungry.
I could go for some good brisket right now.
I know, me too. That's the good ones that just melt in your mouth.
Oh, dude, if you have the right barbecue sauce on that too. Anyway.
Anyways, like I said, I'm getting hungry. So they got a good backup. They got a good running back room of Brian Robinson Jr., which he is back and healthy. Antonio Gibson, he's also a good one.
Solid to good defense.
Yep, and all their running backs are young, so that's a good thing.
Scary Terry.
Yes, and they got to go to their receiver room, which has Scary Terry, Curtis Samuel. That's basically the only two that I actually see that are actually really good in my eyes. I mean, they do have a rookie, the Casimir Allen from UCLA. Tight ends, they have Logan Thomas, which he was one of the good targets last season. Defense, Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen. They do have a solid team. Everyone is sleeping on them. Yep. But I mean, I can see the reason why that they're sleeping on them. But it looks a really good, solid team.
They do. The problem is the division they play in. They play in a hard division. They play in the same division as Philly, the Giants, who won a playoff game last year, and the Cowboys, who always at least make the playoffs. So they play in a very hard division.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I agree 100% with you. Arizona's going to be the worst team in the league this year. They're going to regret cutting Colt McCoy. They just traded for Josh Dobbs in late August. You're telling me this man knows your offense already? Bull crap.
Yeah.
Bull crap. Josh Dobbs never played for the Cardinals before. You don't know their playbook.
Well, Baker Mayfield did it in a weekend.
Oh my He played against the Raiders. Is it the Raiders? Look that up for me, because it was the same. It was the Raiders because Jeff Saturday beat the Raiders as a coach. For Christ's sake. Yeah, kind of back to the Cardinals. They're gonna be horrible. It's gonna be a very rough season for them. They have James Conner. Their two quarterback options are Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune, and they haven't even officially announced who's going to start yet. Sorry, Cardinals fans. Going to be a long year. I'm taking the Commanders.
Yep.
Find it. Was it against the?
Yeah, it was against the Vegas the Raiders.
Knew it. Raiders are a dumpster fire. We'll get into that later. Here's another one. We're staying home right now. Jaguars versus the Colts.
Ooh. Now this one's a little bit tough, in my opinion, because you got a year 2 quarterback versus a rookie. I was no, it's a year 3.
Quarterback, yes.
Yeah, year 3.
Kinda,
yeah, year 3.
If you want to count his rookie season with Urban Meyer, sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, year 3, year 2.
So
year
3, versus the rookie. It's I'm looking at the rosters right now, and
I know who I'm going with. I'm going with the Jags.
I was probably going to say the exact same thing. I'm going with the Jags.
Absolutely.
The Colts are a very young team. Don't get me wrong, but they do not have exactly. They don't have the weapons that the Jacksonville has.
Well, they don't have Jonathan Taylor right now.
Right. So yeah, so it's and their running back room is huge. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, including Jonathan Taylor. So yeah, they have 6. They have 6 running backs on the roster.
That's a lot of running backs.
Yeah.
God, they kept a lot of running backs. Good God, I didn't know that.
Yep.
And for like every reason you said, I actually was hopeful Taylor would play for the Colts because with Shane Steichen, what he did with Jalen Hurts and was able to do with him and Miles Sanders, you think he'd been able to do the same thing with Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor?
Oh yeah.
He's a good coach. That would have been a scary running tandem back there. But Richardson can throw too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
The Jaguars, they won a playoff game last year. Trevor Lawrence is looking like he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in the league here soon, if he's not even already. Some even think he is now.
Especially with the weapons that he has now. Like
you already have Christian Kirk,
Travis Etienne,
Calvin Ridley's back.
Yep.
So it's going to be a good year in Jacksonville, I think.
Yeah, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram. It's their tight end. And it's actually has a lot of good targets. A lot of weapons.
Yeah. He got a lot of solid weapons. I wouldn't say Evan Ingram's a top tight end, but he's definitely a solid tight end.
He had some good seasons, but last season he was really good last season.
He was. He was very, I would say
I was honestly very surprised that Evan Ingram did that good last season, in my opinion. So I'll probably say Evan Ingram is probably a top 10 tight end.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Tight ends are hard to come by these days, unfortunately. It's not like the old days. Me and you would watch Tony Gonzalez and Antonio
Gates, yeah.
No, Jermichael Finley was always fun for me to watch, too. I like to watch him. He was always a good one.
Heath Miller
was always a good one as well. Bubba Franks.
Oh, Bubba. Good old Bubba.
You couldn't make fun of that blocking.
Nope.
Could not. You can make fun of his catching, but you could not make fun of that blocking.
Oh, no.
Moving on. Hey, I already know what you're going to say here, I think. 49ers, Pittsburgh.
Here is a tough one to me. Both defenses are actually outstanding. We've added so much to our defense and our offense. San Francisco, I don't think they didn't do anything to their offense really, unless getting rid of a few people. But they do have, they didn't lose a lot, but they do have, they did announce that Brock Purdy is their starting quarterback.
Smart
move. But they have Christian McCaffrey. They got their fullback, Kyle Jacuzzi. That's Jacuzzi. And their receivers are actually pretty good. They have Debo, Will Snead, Ray McLeod. He was a Steeler for a little bit. Brandon Ayuk. So they have some good. And with can't even forget about George Kittle.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Top 5 tight end.
Oh, yeah.
Who you got? With all that being said,
and with the Steelers, like I said, they've added so much. TJ Watt's playing. That is a huge thing. He's healthy. He's ready to go. I am picking the Pittsburgh Steelers.
With your mind or your heart?
Both.
Okay. You make a case. Pittsburgh's always a good team. Even if it's ugly, even if they win all their games 11-7, they always find a way to at least be a solid team. You're right. Okay.
Yep.
There's an argument to be made. I'm not saying you're wrong. However, I ain't saying you're right, because finally, I have one written down here that's different than yours, unfortunately. I think Pittsburgh will be a very good team. I think Pittsburgh is a young team. I think Pittsburgh has a top 5 coach, obviously. I think it probably goes Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, Mike Tomlin, probably in that order. I think that's fair. They're just not experienced enough, not ready, I think, to beat the Niners. Niners been in the NFC Championship game way too many times. Trust me, I've watched them lose. I've watched them kick Green Bay's ass many times in the playoffs. Many times. So they are a veteran team for the playoffs. They have talent all across the board. I no disrespect to your Steelers. I think they'll have a good year this year, at least a solid season this season. I just don't think they're quite ready to beat that team. Kind of like you said about Detroit.
Well, right now, Steelers are in the past 10 seasons. This is from 2014. We are 6-2-1 starting week 1.
Okay.
And we are on a 3-winning streak in week 1.
6-3-1, according to my prediction.
6-2-1. Even though we beat Cincinnati last season.
You did, and I think you'll beat Cincinnati at least one of your 2 times.
The year before we beat Buffalo. So.
And I think you're gonna win some games. I do, just not that game.
I do believe we're gonna win this game.
Give me some time through the year. I want to give you some love to your Steelers. I am just against the Niners, man. That's my pick to win the Super Bowl. As you know from last podcast, I think the Niners are in for a hell of a year.
Well, remember,
I hate the Niners.
All the good teams always have the struggle week 1.
Early on. And you're right, the Niners struggled early on last year. They lost to the Bears. They did. They did. I'll give you that. So there is an argument to be made. However, I think this year,
it's going to change.
The Niners are ready. I think the Niners are going to kick some ass. I really do.
I do so too, but I don't think it's not going to start week 1. Anyways, next game.
Finally, had one. Titans versus the Saints.
I'm going with the Saints.
Smart move, I think.
Has Tennessee even announced their starting quarterback?
Oh yeah, it's Ryan Tannehill.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's going to be the Saints.
Well, I don't think Tannehill really isn't that bad, man.
I mean,
He led the number one
he's
seed.
not that bad, but he has DeAndre Hopkins. That's the only good receiver that he has.
And that's correct, yes. But they have Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and
They have
Daniel
a good
Henry, but
receiver.
he did not have a good season last year, even though he was injured. But everyone figured out how to stop him last season. What was the last game that he had that he ran over 200 yards?
Well, it's been a while, but he still had over 1,000 yards. He had a really good year last year. And he's not like he has in the past, and I'll give you that, but he was still an 1,000-yard rusher. Yeah, man. Yeah, last year he had 1,538 yards. You're thinking of the year before when he had 937.
I still don't think he was even. Yes, even though he did have over 1,000 yards that last season, but look how many games that teams just stopped him with only less than 100 yards that last season.
Okay, and I'll give you that. I'll give you that. He did it in a unique way. It wasn't like in 2020 when he had 2,027 yards. I agree with that, and 17 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Or in 2019 when he had 16 touchdowns, but last year he only had 13. So I give you that. But he's still
He's still great. Don't get me wrong. He's
great.
amazing.
He is.
He's an amazing running back. He's probably one of the best running backs in the league right now. I just don't think. I think every team in the NFL knows how to stop him, and he can't do anything about it.
I think it's the opposite. I think
in my opinion.
the teams know how to stop him. They just can't because he's that good.
Because if we look at this, I'm looking at his
splits.
Yeah, so against the Jaguars, or not the Jaguars, the Philadelphia, he had 30 yards. Against Cincy, he had 38. Green Bay, he only had 87. Denver, 53, and that's when they were horrible, even though they still won that game, it looks like. The Raiders, he had 85. Buffalo, 25. And the New York Giants, out of all teams, he only had 82.
Yeah, I agree.
The only team that he did actually good against the Houston. He had 219. He had 219 yards that game
against a joke of a team.
Yep, and everyone else is like 100, 120, 115 here and there. I mean, everything else. I mean, those teams knows how to, like. The Giants even stopped it, for crying out loud.
I mean, the Giants got them a defense, man.
I mean, they do, but I mean, with last season though, it was a toss-up.
Okay. And I actually do agree with you to a point. However, I still think Derrick Henry is probably the second best running back in the league.
Oh yeah, I still agree with you on that. But there's just some teams, like I mentioned, like last season, they know how to stop him.
Yeah.
And if every team was on board, I don't think Derrick Henry wouldn't even get over 100 yards in some games.
He wouldn't. And I agree that he kind of had a down year compared to a couple years ago. But you ain't going to run for 2,000 yards every year. This man still had 1,500 yards, over 10 TDs.
And yes, I do believe he was injured for a little bit. Don't get me wrong.
The year before he had been, yeah.
Yeah, the year before.
Led the league in rushing and then got hurt. And still ended up being like top 5 or top 10 in rushing yards and didn't even play half the year.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Yeah, I think both of us are pretty much on board. Saints.
Yep.
Sorry, Saints fans. We got onto a Derrick Henry
little
spiral.
Yep.
Me and Nick Chubb, though. Moving on. So we're on the same page there. I think we might be off on this one. Let's see. Raiders, Broncos.
Ooh. Sean Payton. Hopefully he turned the whole entire Denver franchise around. Las Vegas, they really didn't do anything. They do have Derek Carr. No. Sorry, my fault. Jimmy G. I still believe that they're the same quarterback, same
I mean,
type.
they pretty much are on the same level. I would agree.
The literally, if you look up from side to side, the stat wise is exactly the same.
It is. Well, I know who I'm going with. I'm actually going to go with Denver.
I was. Mm,
I'm going with Denver. I think Sean Payton, they had an elite defense last year. They really did.
mhm.
Top 5 defense easily last season. On top of the fact that you got Sean Payton in there, I think he might be able to help that offense a little bit, at least enough to beat the Raiders. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they'll be better on the offensive side of the ball and better than the Raiders will be.
I'm going to go with the Raiders this one.
Oh, really?
I'm going with the
Okay.
Las Vegas Raiders.
I figured you would pick the Raiders. I think you're surprised I picked the Broncos.
I just think it's a little too early right now to pick the Broncos. Yes, even though they have Sean Payton, hopefully he will turn around the this offense around very quickly. Hopefully get Russell Wilson's mind straight, back on track instead of saying Broncos country. Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Let's ride.
But
Dive on in.
especially on the silence, let's ride. We gotta ride. We gotta ride. Man, everyone was so irritated with that. But I'm gonna go with the Raiders.
Okay. And you see, that's why I'm not gonna get mad at you. I can see it. Something just tells me Sean Payton's gonna. Yeah. I agree. I can see it. I can see it.
Give time through the. I'm probably gonna say probably week 4 or week 5 is when they're gonna actually start connecting. In my opinion.
Okay. My opinion. The reason I'm taking the Broncos, I think, more so is, I think Derek Carr is actually slightly better than Jimmy G is. I think that Denver has a better. I know for a fact Denver has a better defense, and that's enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. I think this will be a pretty easy one. Eagles, Patriots.
Eagles.
Eagles. We're on the same page. Now, I actually think it'll be close. More than people think.
Yeah.
I mean, Bill Belichick always has a top 10 defense in the league.
Oh, yeah. But yeah.
Let's just hope Mac Jones don't get hurt, because I don't think they have a backup quarterback yet.
Matt Corral.
Oh, they finally signed one?
Yep.
Oh, they did, because they cut all of them except Mac Jones.
Yeah, it looks like they have Matt Corral. I'm looking at their depth chart.
Why? Over Zappy?
I guess. I don't know.
Corral. 5 things warming up.
And all the receivers looks like, they're all questionable.
They did claim him off of waivers. I forgot that Matt Corral got waived. Sorry, waiving time, everything gets clouded because a lot of roster moves. Wow.
But Thorne's on IR right now, so is a little bit hurting.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much of a competition. Philly will win that game ultimately.
Wait, when did the Patriots sign Mike? I cannot say that his last name. Jaskeski.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know if it was past off season.
I don't even read about that. Why did that not come up?
See, I'm learn something new every day.
I guess.
Moving on. This will be a good one, I think. LA Rams, Seahawks.
Rams or Seahawks?
Give me Seattle. I think they might be a dark horse to kind of compete. I think they're going to actually be good enough to make the Niners work for it in that division. Going to be a top wild card team. Well, as you know that we've already done our playoff picture, so I have them as a wild card team right behind San Francisco. I think they'll be a good team. I don't think the Rams have way too many question marks, man. There's reports about Matt Stafford having issues connecting with his teammates, and yeah, they have
And
a
with
lot of
Cooper
holes.
Kupp still being hurt.
On top of they don't have draft picks forever now because they traded them all away, and they don't have an offensive line. It's an easy one for me.
Yeah, with Cooper Kupp still being injured, I mean, the only good thing they actually really have on the Rams defense is Aaron Donald. Yeah, I'll agree with you. I'll go with Seattle with this one.
And you see, I think the Rams are fooling people. They have a lot of top names, but they don't have a good team. You need more than a quarterback. You need more than Aaron Donald, Matt Stafford, and Cooper Kupp to win. They don't have that anymore.
Nope.
That's why they won what? They were barely won any games last year at all. Less than 7. They were a bottom feeder last year.
Yep. I mean, well, they had all the injury problems and everything, but
And they did. But not having any draft picks doesn't help you either because you
nope.
don't have anyone young to go replace them.
Nope. But
Moving
they did get a rookie quarterback though, and that's just actually was a pretty good one.
Stetson Bennett.
Yep.
He looked kind of rough in them preseason games sometimes.
A little rough, but I mean,
he's a winner.
It's still good.
He's a winner.
Yeah.
Won many national championships, so he's a national champion of college football. So there is that to be said. Staying in the world of LA, Miami Dolphins, LA Chargers.
I'm going with the Chargers.
Really? Okay.
I'm going with the Chargers with this one.
This is one that I figured when I did my rankings that we would disagree on. Give me Miami. I think Miami will shock a lot of people too. Is healthy right now. Of course, you got Waddle, you have Tyreek Hill, Mike McDaniel, just an underrated coach, a top offensive mind in my opinion. Dolphins will make the playoffs this year. I'm telling you, they'll be better than the Jets. Give me the Dolphins. Somebody wanted the takes that we're going to have to monitor on this podcast because I said it early on. Dolphins will be good.
And I do believe so. They're going to be good, but looks like there are some injuries. I see a lot of injuries and questionables on their.
Ramsey's a big one.
Yep, Jalen Waddle, he's questionable. Trent Armstead, their left tackle, is questionable. Eckenberg is questionable. And then looking at their defense, it's, I mean, not a lot, but doesn't, scare me as much.
And you're right, because the Chargers on paper are a great team.
Are a great team, yes.
And I know as a long-term NFL fan like me, you're familiar with the term chargering. Chargers will do what the Chargers do. I still have them in my playoff picture, everybody. But if I remember correctly, I had them as my 6th seed.
Yeah,
I just don't disappoint. I think Miami will.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, I still think looking at both their rosters, no one's injured as much. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, the duo for Herbert and Eckler's everyone's healthy. They got an amazing offensive line. Their defense is looking really nice. So that's why I picked the Chargers, because one, everyone's healthy. Two, it's just they got the duo healthy. Herbert's looking healthy, and you got that the edge with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. I mean, you can't even stop that with Derwin James up there in the secondary with Asante Samuel Jr. I mean, even though he hasn't done as much, but he's still doing really good. And I think they signed this year Eric Kendricks this year.
And we watched Asante Samuel Sr. play football.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know you're getting old.
Yep. But yeah, the Chargers did sign Eric Kendricks, so that's a good linebacker for them. And and don't forget about J.C. Jackson.
And they do. You're right. On paper, I don't know. I think they're going
I'm
to disappoint some people and lose
they're
opening
gonna
day.
disappoint some people on some big games. It's probably not gonna show up on big games, but I don't think this is not a big game. So they're gonna show out on the non-big games. So give me Chargers against Miami.
That's one we'll monitor. To kind of end that topic, I think that the Dolphins will kind of have a really strong start to the season and kind of fade out a little bit as the weather gets colder. They have to travel a little bit. Things are going to get a little more difficult. You're going to have some injuries throughout the season. Every team does. It's inevitable. Even if it's not Tua, someone will get hurt. I think they'll falter early on and win.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll win early on and falter as the year goes. Moving on. A big one here. Green Bay, Chicago.
Ooh. Hmm. Should I
You
be?
contemplate. You contemplate what you're going to do. You already know what I'm going to say. Listen, it's not a secret. I have reports that say that Aaron Rodgers has signed over his ownership of the Bears. Jordan Love. I mean, Green Bay, they're better from top to bottom. Not even my heart. You look at their team. Give me the running back duo. They have A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones. They have a better receiving core than Chicago does, in my opinion. Younger. They have obviously Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs. They drafted Reed from Michigan State. They drafted some tight ends in the draft. They have a really good defense. They have the best corner in the league in Jair Alexander. They drafted Lucas Van Ness, and it appears that Devondre Campbell's going to be available. Yeah, give me Green Bay. What you got?
Let's see. The Bears really doesn't.
Oh, and Rashawn Gary. It looks like he's going to play, and obviously Preston Smith at pass rusher. They're a good team, man. Forgot about Rashawn Gary playing, possibly.
So I'm looking at their depth chart, right?
Green Bay's?
No, the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Their left guard and their center is the exact same person.
Yeah, it's the Bears.
Hmm.
Green Bay always has a better Green Bay always has a good offensive line. They have Kenny Kenny Clark. Wow, I'm about to say Kenny Pickett. I drew a blank there. They have Kenny Clark at defensive tackle. They have Preston Smith. You have Lucas Van Ness, DeAndre Campbell, Eric Stokes out currently right now, but you still have Rasul Douglas beside of corner. The other side, opposite Jair Alexander. The Packers have a good roster, man. They really do. And I think
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Love's going to shock some people. Packers still own the Bears. Green Bay all day. Now, all right, your turn.
I'm gonna pick Green Bay as well. I just don't have huge faith in this year's Chicago Bears team, even though everyone is saying it's their year, but they say that every year.
This will be the quarterback. This is the guy. Just like Mitchell Trubisky was the guy, right?
Yeah. And now he's a Steeler.
Right.
I mean, even though they do have some good, Justin Fields has some good weapons. Even though if he doesn't run, if they're open still, or has throws to against their a defensive lineman that's standing right on the sideline. They do have DJ Moore. They have Darnell Mooney. I really don't still have faith in Chase Claypool, even though he had one kind of good rookie season with the Steelers, and then it's just downfall there. But yeah, I have Cole Kemp there, but I still. Oh, they have Mercedes Lewis.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that insane? The
He didn't.
Packers are moving in a younger direction.
He didn't go
They're
far.
who the youngest team in the league is. The stats came out once the 53-man roster came out. Do you know who the youngest team in the league is?
Probably the Packers.
It is, and it is. Dude, we are young. We even cut Pat O'Donnell.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna make a short take about that. That's interesting. We kept Whelan. I'm saying his name correctly. He was an all XFL punter. He broke records at the school he went to. It was a smaller college. Not familiar with him quite yet. I'm sure I will as the season goes on. But we even chose to grow with the XFL punter over Pat O'Donnell, who's kicked over 10 years in the league. We're a young team.
Mm-hmm.
I think we still own them motherfucking Bears. Moving on. Sunday night football. Cowboys, Giants. Sunday night on NBC.
Oh, excuse
I
me.
won't sing the rest. I'll get copyrighted.
Oh, you don't got that good enough voice to be
I
copyrighted.
really don't. Please don't turn this off after hearing that. If you're still watching. You know who I'm going though? Give me Dallas. Again, I'm on record on this podcast as saying the Giants will take a big step back. Their schedule is hard. I think the NFC is weak. Dallas is known for beating give me Dallas over New York. Got a better overall team. I think they have the future defensive player in the year with Micah Parsons this year. I'm on record as saying that as well. CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones is. They have Tony Pollard still.
Hmm. I think it's going to be an offensive game, but give me the Giants.
Okay. Hey, we got a different one again. Good deal.
Give me the Giants week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay. Is there a particular reason? Just a gut feeling?
And it's mostly just a gut feeling on this.
Okay.
But I don't think the Cowboys Dak Prescott is not going to be that good this year. I think he's going to fall off again. Going to get injured again. And they're going to start Trey Lance.
No. You really think that?
No. I think they're going to start Cooper Rush if Dak Prescott does get injured.
Yeah, absolutely. Trey Lance is more there to develop.
Well, if it's developed, that's not the right team to be developed.
You got Mike McCarthy. He's won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Well, a Super Bowl.
Right.
That was with
Go ask Dan Marino about his Super Bowl.
True.
Go ask Josh Allen about his. Go ask Phillip Rivers. Got him a ring. We'll monitor that game. That's another one to end the week 1 Monday Night Football. Buffalo Bills or the Jets.
Jets. Jets. Give me Buffalo.
Okay, we're on the same page. I got Buffalo as well.
Buffalo week 1.
Okay. Jordan JB's got Buffalo week 1, and I'm on record as saying the Jets will slightly miss the playoffs. That's a pretty hard take that I have. I think it starts here. Buffalo's just a better team. Josh Allen's younger. He looked better last year. The Buffalo Bills have a really elite defense. Stephon Diggs, only a rough Monday night. The Jets. It was a close game, in my opinion. 38-35. Give me the Buffalo Bills. Close game.
Close game.
Yeah. We were going to play Wordle today, but this topic went way Weddle. Sorry, we were going to play Weddle today, but this topic I had slotted for about 45 minutes. Me and JB have absolutely exceeded that point. At this point, so that's all we have for today's unbiased hard take. I mean, JB, anything else you want to say about week 1?
Oh. No. I do not have any questions. Sorry, a little bit of technical difficulties, but nope, no questions for me. No statements. Just thank God that we got football next week. Yes, even though it was the preseason, but thank God there's some regular season football.
Oh, and it all starts Thursday night. Thank God.
Yep, this Thursday. Let's go. Only a few days. We got a few days counting down.
And 1 week from today is Sunday. 1 week from today, the rest of these games start. So, next time you see us, there will be games that have happened. There will be results to be talked about. There will be bragging rights to be had. Me and JB, we've talked about this before this podcast. We kind of want to talk about what we did today. We were going to play the Weddle.
Yep, Weddle.
Okay, yeah,
Weddle.
We're in real life. Sorry, we were going to play the Weddle game, but we want to talk week 1 with you guys. We went over our time frame. So what we're going to do throughout the season is obviously football to be talked about. Finally, so we're going to project every single week's games. We're going to talk about once the games happen. After that, in our podcast, talk about certain players.
Talk
things of that nature.
The recap of all week 1 and choosing who you're going to get week 2.
We figured we'd start with that rather than Weddle. I want to give you guys what you guys need.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Again, like, subscribe, hit that bell.
Like us on Facebook
as well.
Yep.
Absolutely. Maybe.
Nothing. You said it. You said it yourself. Hit the comment. Who's your favorite team and who's going to be in the Super Bowl? Comment right now. Do it.
There's 32 teams. Who you got?
Who you got? Exactly. Go Steelers. But all that means, see you next week.